Okay, moving right along, here's SP4 for lesson 5. We're talking about the counter classifier tsu. This is a general counter we mentioned in class a little bit here. If you remember, we learned a few counters for certain objects like mai, which is for thin flat objects like paper, hon, cylindrical objects, satsu for books, and anyway, you'll learn a lot more of those things for different types of objects and things to count. But oftentimes you'll come across things that you don't know the counter for, or it just seems for whatever reason you want to choose not to use that specific counter and use this general counter. Okay, so the numbers here do not follow like what we've been learning so far with other counters so much, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, so much when you're counting things with mai. So you can't say sanmai, for 3 pieces of paper. Sound like san, but these change a little bit, so you're going to have to memorize each of these numbers. So the first one is hitotsu, okay? Second one is datsu. Mitsu is 3. Yotsu is 4. Please note how most of these are double consonants. So yotsu, not yotsu. Mitsu, not mitsu. Okay. Itsutsu. Mutsu. Nanatsu. Remember, nana is actually similar to what we studied before with our numbers. That's the alternate to shi that you learned for 7. Yatsu is 8. Kokonotsu is 9. And 10 is a little different. It's to, so it doesn't use the tsu. But we still put it in the same counters because it's used to count things in general. Okay. So, if you want to count a building, sorry, I erased that, then you could say hitotsu for 1. Okay. If you wanted to count a bicycle. Okay, sorry, so hitotsu biru, I told you biru, let's put that down. And bicycle is actually jitensha. Yeah. Jitensha. That's bicycle, right? I mean, you don't know, that's bicycle. Okay. So 1 bicycle, 1 building. And you can use that for all of the different counters we learned. Now you can use these 2 counters for anything that is not living. Okay. Things that are living would be people, obviously, animals, mainly those 2 things, things that can have their own will and move around and are alive. Okay, we talked a little about trees and stuff being alive, but it's a little different in that you might be able to use no, I think you can use the tsu series of trees, and that's fine. But you can't for people and animals. Okay, they have their own counters. If you were to say 1 person, it's actually hitori. Okay, so the hito is a futari. Is 2, right? People. 3 oops. 3 3 people. And that's when we move into our counters you're familiar with. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Okay. Animals, it depends on the animal. If you're talking about a dog or a cat counter is biki. And actually goes for like 1, it's ippiki. 2 hiki, I guess you'd say it's hiki then. 3 biki. See, it follows that same pattern with other counters where 3 becomes B, 1 is often P when it starts with an H. So this is actually bihiki, I guess is the general way to say it. Anyway, so my point is that when you're dealing with animated things like cats and dogs and people, you cannot use tsu. You have to use the actual correct counter there. Okay. Well, anyway, so. Alright, the next and last structural pattern for this lesson is mo. Okay. Now don't confuse mo with mo that we already learned. What did mo mean? It means also or as well, right? Okay, this is a different mo. Note how it's long when you say it. Mo. Okay. Now mo just means in addition to, or to a greater extent, let's see if there's anything else way to put it. So we combine mo with simply with a quantity. Or a descriptor that indicates a quantity. I'll show that in a minute. So, if we were to say mo hitotsu onegai shimasu, what does it mean? It means please give me one more, or please give me another one. What could you use instead in place of onegai shimasu? Review kudasai. Okay. So you add it to quantifier, and it just says and it means in addition to. Now what about to a greater extent? Well, some extent words you've learned are chotto, skoshi. Let's just focus on those two right now. So, what does chotto mean again? It means a little bit. And skoshi also means about the same. A little. Right. So if we say mo chotto, a little bit more, mo skoshi. So if I wanted to say please read a little more, I could say mo skoshi yonde kudasai. Remember the gerund form. Please do it. With the te form plus kudasai, right? So please read a little more. Okay. We could also put it in a sense by saying mo muzukashi Dekimasu ka? We can put color. Remember, if you drop particles, it just makes it so there's no focus and you're just looking at this relationship. Okay, which means there's no emphasis on gengo. We could be equally concerned with dekimasu or language. So, let's replace gengo with no for fun, because remember, we can replace. So it's more like the example in your book. Nominal no replaces that. I mean, no replaces the nominal. Okay? So, mo Uzakashi no dekimasu ka? Okay. So, this is a more difficult language. Can you do a more difficult language? Okay. Alright, so I think that is it for that, so thank you.